Hi everyone, I'm James and this is Callum. We're here
Hi
from
there.
Catalyst IT today to talk about a project we built called Hot Potato. So I'm James, I'm a Linux sysadmin / network engineer / people manager at Catalyst. I'm one of 3 maintainers of New Zealand's free software mirror group, and I have very strong opinions on everything on-call and monitoring. So if you would like to bicker about that later, I'm more than happy to do that for hours.
And I'm Callum Dickinson. Well, when I first entered Catalyst, I was a systems and network admin. These days, mostly I'm doing like internal development stuff for our team to make things generally better and less bad. I've been working on Hot Potato for the most part for the last year or so, and yeah. And according to him, at least, I'm a general A+ human, or at least that's what we put on that slide at first anyway.
So there should be a tweet going out shortly with all the slides in PDF format if anyone has trouble reading them up on the projector or anything like that. These are our contact details if you quickly want to photograph that. Cool, yeah, a few people, sweet. All right, that's the hard part out of the way, good. All right, so what is Hot Potato? So Hot Potato is not a monitoring system. That's something we want to be very clear about because that's what everyone thinks we've done. We have not reinvented Asinga or Nagios or Prometheus because the world really doesn't need another monitoring system. It is instead a message broker. So monitoring sources such as Nagios or Asinga talk to Hot Potato, and Hot Potato decides to send messages to the on-call person as configured. So we have 18 monitoring servers in different places around the world, and previously they would use things like email or dial-up modems with pager gateways to get to our on-call people, and we've transformed that somewhat into an API, which is much faster and much more reliable. So yeah, it's a web application that we built with Python and Flask. It has CockroachDB and RabbitMQ in the back end. And it tells you things with the express goal of not getting in the way of you fixing them. So why does it exist? So as I alluded to, we previously used pages, so we had this joy. This is a really convenient notification that came in one afternoon about a production Postgres database server failing. And as you can see, this is not the most informative message that you can expect to get. Okay, that's cool. Is this better for you, Don?
That's good.
Yep, cool. All right. So as you know, Spark probably shut down the paging network. When they say shut down, they mean they sold it to the fire service and the fire service paid for it, so we pay the fire service to keep using it at the moment. But it's good fun. Every so often it's slightly unreliable though, and we've been trying to move away from it for quite some time. So this is where Hot Potato came in. We temporarily lost access to the Spark paging network when they were cutting it over to the fire service. So we had to come up with something quite quickly. So we built the first version of Hot Potato in 3 hours one night to deploy to production the next day. And we've been using it in production for just over a year now. Though not that same version, obviously. All right, so the goals of Hot Potato. Not getting in the way of on-call people, because there's nothing worse than that, or having to decipher what a garbled page message actually meant. Help us with alert reduction so that we spend less time awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. Be highly available. Given that we live in a country that is on the ring of fire and has earthquakes, it would be really nice if we could survive losing a couple of data centers and still get notifications about it. So that is one of the express goals, which is why we've picked CockroachDB as our database backend, despite it being quite new. And the goal is to support any notification or monitoring system. So at the moment we support Nagios 3, Asinga 1.x, and Asinga 2 because that's what we have at Catalyst, but we're adding support for Prometheus and other things as we go. We're also trying to support as many methods of contacting people as we can so that people can be more selective. For example, I live in a place in Wellington where there's not so great cell phone reception in my house, so text messages and phone calls don't really work for me, but anything over data is quite good. And obviously paging and stuff for our legacy requirements. So what else can it do? So it also does failure notifications. So when it can't page us, it will actually find another method of contacting the on-call person and telling them, and escalate as appropriate to other people who are designated to get those, like our team manager and so on, so that they know when things aren't being dealt with in SLA. It does heartbeats. So heartbeats are often what people confuse with us being a monitoring system. What we do is configure, say, Nagios or Singa to send a heartbeat every minute to Hot Potato. So when we lose contact with the customer's monitoring server, we're not relying on their potentially down internet link to tell us that their stuff has gone away. So what else will it do? So there's a few things it doesn't currently do that we've been working on. Teams. So one of our plans is to sneakily put everyone at Catalyst on call. Sorry to all the Catalyst people in the room who don't know that yet. That's what you get for not coming to my internal presentations. So we're going to start with our very own ops dev team, which is the group of 5 developers underneath the sysadmin team at Catalyst. And we're going to expand that out from there. So they will be on call for things like Hot Potato. Team escalations. So the idea is to support teams being on call, either the entire team, whoever's there at the time during business hours, depending on the scale of the team and how important their things are, and to have that escalate up the chain to other teams as appropriate, either in or outside of hours. So if they don't deal with something within half an hour that's not particularly important during the day, it will eventually escalate to the team above them in the escalation path, or after hours if it's something production and critical within 15 minutes, say. There is a planned work feature that we've been thinking about for some time, mostly because quite often people doing planned work at 3 o'clock in the morning run into a problem and they forget at the end of their window to extend the downtime just that extra 15 minutes to not wake the on-call person up with 200 alerts. So we're planning a feature for that where you can go in and say, I'm working on this client stuff, and instead of it going directly to the on-call person, there'll be a short period where it goes to the person doing the planned work instead, and they can be reminded rudely to go and extend their downtime, or can pass it on to an on-call person if it is not them that's actually responsible for the thing that broke. And as a company that has support agreements with customers, customers can call us and things, so we're planning to integrate the ability to call our help desk number directly with Hot Potato and have calls either route through Hot Potato to the appropriate person, or something like it takes a voicemail message and sends the attachment to the right person, and you can listen to it through Hot Potato's UI and so on. And while we're not there yet, we're currently using Pushover for a mobile app. We are planning to have an Android and iOS application so that we can get rid of pages once and for all. We're also adding language support at the moment, so we are almost completely through German and Italian, thanks to some students that we'll talk about a bit later on. And yeah, Callum will now explain how it works.
So, this is the basic infrastructure layout for Hot Potato as it stands at the moment. So there's three main components to Hot Potato. There's the Flask application, the Rabbit MQ message queue, which the Flask application delegates message sending jobs to, and then there's the database, which actually stores everything and actually coordinates information between all the Hot Potato instances because they're not directly connected. The CockroachDB databases are all in a cluster, and because of the way CockroachDB works, it seamlessly syncs everything between all the instances. So Hot Potato themselves, the Hot Potato applications themselves don't actually have to be directly connected. They're all independent, and any of them can go down at any time, and all the other ones will work just fine. We've got them all the Hot Potato instances anycasted, and all the monitoring servers hook into a API endpoint there where it tells it to where it notifies Hot Potato. It goes through the database, the message queue, and then it comes out up at the top there where it actually sends it out to the on-call person. And this is the basic workflow for how all this takes place. So it starts. How do we use this? Starts at the top. Starts at the top there. A alert comes in from the monitoring server, and then it's relatively simple. Creates an object in the database to track everything, and then at this point it decides. At the moment we've got it programmed so that if it's a warning, it doesn't actually notify the on-call person, because no one wants to be awake or be woken up at 3 a.m. just for a warning or some kind of status OK alert, that kind of thing. And if that's the case, it just puts it on the message queue, and so that makes it available for viewing later on when the on-call person's actually awake. If it's an actual alert that needs to be sent, it'll get put on the message queue, and then RabbitMQ will go and create a worker and actually handle the job. That process is kind of shown here. So read the notification from the database, and with the queue job, it actually sends in extra information. This is useful for things like testing if the whole process works when you're trying to add a contact method to a user. If there is one defined, for example, if they're trying to send a test message to see if SMS or pushover works properly, it'll actually just try to send the message directly and then add the results into the database. But if it's an actual alert happening, what will actually happen is it'll get the on-call person's contact details, and the way they're stored in Hot Potato is that the user can define what their highest priority contact method is, and it just works through that list. It'll keep on working through those until it finds one that works. Sends it, and then everything gets, the user gets the alert, and if there's any problems, they all get stored with the alert, so that the administrator can go and look back at that later on if there's any problems at all. And once that happens, it comes out of Hot Potato, and then depending on what the user has configured, it goes out to. So Modica handles our either SMS or pager, and then Twilio is just for SMS, and we have pushover there for the pushover app, of course. And depending on what the user has configured, it'll go out towards the users in there. There's a phone, there's a pager, and then here is just a direct link for the Hot Potato web app. So they can, once they've received a notification, they can log on their computer and go into the web app and see and get more details about what's actually happened. A plan for the future is to actually have the mobile app have all that stuff as well, so you can get more details on it quicker or manipulate the actual notification status there. Do you want to talk about this?
So last week we had the Catalyst Academy, which is a yearly thing that Ian, who's here in the audience, organises. Yay! Where a group of secondary school students get to come into Catalyst for 2 weeks, and they get taught a bunch of things, and then they get to spend, it's 3.5 days? Yeah, 3.5 days working on a project that they choose from a list of ones that we give them. And this was the Catalyst Academy team for Hot Potato this year, with a few of us Catalyst staff as well. So they worked on some fun things, such as the translations into German and Italian, a statistics API, some UI changes for various improvements, such as ZXCVBN for password changes, and a nice, easy-to-use GUI for the initial setup of Hot Potato, so that there's less command line magic for people. Yeah. So far we have 17 contributors, many of whom are in the room, so thanks to them. And we're always looking for more. So feel free to jump on the website and have a look at our Getting Started Contributing Guide if you're willing to jump in and help. And yeah. Now for the fun part. Yeah. So we decided that we would get a rather large laptop and install 13 virtual machines on it and do an actual live demo with 5 fake data centers running Hot Potato. So a few disclaimers. Less importantly, the theme that is currently on Hot Potato is a work in progress, so some of the pages aren't quite right. We're working on it. The demo is using almost all of the RAM in this laptop, so if it goes terribly, I'm sorry. And we're also relying on the conference Wi-Fi for sending the notifications, so it could be interesting.
Just be quiet on Facebook for a bit. That'd be really appreciated.
Because we're using almost all of the RAM, this demo environment doesn't have any load balancing or like fake BGP going on, so it's just 5 data centers, which is just a CockroachDB server and a Hot Potato server in what we will pretend are 5 different data centers and a few monitoring servers. If there are any particular parts that people want to see more afterwards, I'm more than happy to keep the demo going on the laptop, either in the room or outside, and show people things. So I'm just going to drag over here. So we conveniently have 5 CockroachDB servers, 5 Hot Potato servers, and a Singer 1, a Singer 2, and a Nagios free server. We will kill some of those off soon and free up some RAM on this laptop. And we have CockroachDB in 1 region, a 2nd region, a 3rd region, a 4th region, and a 5th region, and 5 Hot Potato things. So our cluster is okay and good, and the Wi-Fi seems to be working, so here is Hot Potato. So as you can see, we did a few things this morning just to make sure this demo worked. So at the moment, Callum is on pager, but all the notifications are going to my phone, so we can show you it lighting up and show some screenshots of the messages, because we didn't want to try and figure out how to actually show a phone screen on a projector, given how many Catalyst people are watching this and how many of them would love to send me messages and put them up on the screen. Right, so we have some recent notifications. Callum's on pager. I think I will take that off him. Go to sleep. I'm going to pretend I spelled that right and just click the button and make it go away. And I get a nice push notification saying that I have taken over the pager and am now on call. All right. So let's have some fun with this. Let's casually pretend there was a large earthquake in some random place that took out a data center. So we will just kill off 2 machines. Have a quick jump over to our monitoring and notice that those are going away, and we get some nice notifications saying that those have gone away. All right. So far, this is going better than I thought it would. All right, so in the user interface, we have the CockroachDB server and the Hot Potato server have gone down. So you get this nice view. You get to see that the message has been sent, what it said, what time it was. And we do this nice thing at Catalyst called trouble codes. So the idea being a short code that we used to be able to put in pager messages, so they used to be limited to 6 characters. And with Hot Potato, we've bumped that up a bit. The idea being you specify them in the monitoring server, and if, say, CockroachDB stops on a host, you can click that link and it gives you a guide on what the most common problems are and how to fix them for the 3 AM people who struggle with that kind of thing. Cool. Done that bit. Right. So we also have the heartbeat thing going on. So here we have the free servers that we have in our demo environment. As you can see, only one of them is currently set to send heartbeats and notify us about them, which is the Nagios free server. So because I also despise Nagios free, I'm just going to casually turn that off. It's old, it deserves to die. It is well and officially end of life. So there we go. And then conveniently in about 50 seconds, that page should update saying that that's gone away, and we should get a notification, because for the purposes of the demo, we've decided to set that to 1 failed heartbeat, and it tells us. So do that. In the meantime, as we can show you that Hot Potato is still going, we may as well kill off another data center, just because it's sounds fun. So I think we'll kill off the fourth one. CockroachDB will stop responding to queries if you don't have quorum, so you need an odd number of, say, 3 machines. So for the purposes of this demo, we're only going to kill 2 out of our 5 data centers. But there we go. And I'm getting more fun notifications on my phone. It's making the desk vibrate, saying that they've gone away. So we have 5 and 4 gone. In theory, that might have been long enough for this to change. There we go. So we have a missed heartbeat, and it's notifying us, and we can, in theory, click here and see that
That's a bit hard to read, but
that is a bit hard to read. Sorry, this is one of those pages that we haven't quite finished retheming yet. But it is saying that HP demo Nagios 3 has gone away, and because it's a demo, we will just casually click that button there, and it will stop telling us about it. All right. So in this other tab, we're logged in as Callum. One of the other convenient features of Hot Potato is the ability to send pager people messages. So Callum can pretend to say that I'm about to start patching web servers, if he so desired. Normally we would use something like IRC for this, but you know, it's a feature, it's there. Should show you how it works. That conveniently shows up in the list as well, and my phone lights up with the message. Cool. All right. I'm just going to kill another web server without taking out the database cluster because I want to. Pretty sure I clicked that. Yeah, cool. In theory, that will soon send a notification as well. There we go. Yeah. So that is Hot Potato sending notifications like it's supposed to, and such. Now, because this is a pre-live demo, we decided to take some quick screenshots. So this is what comes up on a phone as prepared yesterday with the pushover application. Pushover nicely lets you specify things like we have it set so a critical notification or a host going down, it will re-notify you every 3 minutes for 3 hours until you actually go into the application and hit the acknowledge notification, or there's also acknowledge all if there's more than one.
all the stuff is like configurable for anyone who doesn't quite want it that strict, but yeah.
It's just a nice way of making sure that people actually get the notifications. Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that? Cool. All right. So that is Hot Potato. And we're running quite ahead of time. So just before we wrap up and ask for questions, even though that says that there, I have been asked by my boss to say we are hiring Linux operations engineers, also known as sysadmins. So if you would like a job in Wellington or Auckland, please feel free to come and talk to us, or probably anyone wearing a Catalyst t-shirt who can point you at us if you can't see us. Yeah. Did anyone have questions? You probably have to give up your microphone.
Thank you. So my question is, if I've got, 4 or 5 or 6 different sorts of things that all need to be alerted, is the Teams features what you need to be able to direct those to different on-call, or do you already have because you just have that one thing at the moment?
Yeah, so at the moment we're still working on the Teams feature. We haven't finished it yet. It's still a bit iffy in the UI, and we're trying to fix that up before we put it into the application. But the idea is that you have the different groups of on-call people in a team. You can be part of more than one team, and you can be either on-call for one or multiple or not, depending on how you want to lay it out. Sorry. Yeah.
I guess the question is, what's going to connect a particular alert coming out of something that's doing monitoring to a particular queue, escalation, etc.? Is that a new thing? Is it part of Teams? Is it?
It is part of Teams. So the idea is that if you're, say, using a single 2, you can specify a variable on particular hosts or notification apply rules and have it direct specific things to specific teams. and Hot Potato will take care of it from there.
Any other questions? Raise your hand.
The acknowledgements for the alerts, are they within pushover or within a Hot Potato?
Yeah. He doesn't really have a mic, so I'll just casually take mine off.
Yeah, or just casually lean over.
All right.
Yeah. So the interface is pushover, but it actually sends an alert to Hot Potato via an API endpoint to update the status on it as well, so you can actually tell whether the on-call person has seen it or not.
Okay, so you don't need to pull out your web browser and log into Hot Potato to acknowledge. Okay.
And then if you don't acknowledge it, the idea is that the failure notifications will kick in, and if you're, say, completely unresponsive, it will go up in your team's escalation path. So say my boss will get woken up if I don't respond to things.
Do you have any work planned for dealing with dependent alerts across different alerting service? Like, obviously, within a Singer you can do it, but if you've got 5 or 10...
So our goal is to make use of existing features in the monitoring tools as much as we can, so we haven't thought about that too much yet. One of the things I was hoping to do with this talk was to try and gather people's feedback on these things and talk to them afterwards, so I'd love to talk to you about how you might want to do that, if you don't mind.
Any other questions?
Why did you choose Cockroach DB? What were the features that drew you to that?
So we spent a wee bit of time trying to figure this out, and we tried quite a few different things, but Cockroach DB is quite nice in that, despite it being quite new and buzzwordy, it does actually act quite like a cockroach, and it is very hard to kill. I have spent quite a bit of time intentionally trying to kill it and make it break and stop working, and pretty much the only way to do it is to corrupt multiple servers at the same time, or have large-scale internet outages, or intentionally go and destroy it. So, so far we haven't had a Cockroach DB outage that wasn't entirely self-inflicted, normally by myself in our UAT environment, but even upgrades with it are seamless. We have never managed to have a problem caused by it, and all the other ones that we tried, we did. So,
Any other questions? Raise your hands.
Nagios 4 compatibility in the pipeline?
yeah, we're hoping to add that as well as Prometheus and a few others. I don't currently have a timeline to give you, but it's definitely on the cards for soon. The fun part is convincing people to upgrade their monitoring servers.
Anybody else?
So are you basically aiming to be a PagerDuty replacement?
So we did evaluate things like PagerDuty in our quest before we started doing this, and none of the ones were either an acceptable price point to put an entire company on call with many hundreds of staff, or they couldn't meet our SLA requirements. So that's why we went down this path of building our own thing. But we aren't, at this point, planning to do a managed service or anything. So.
But if you're intending to replace the features of PagerDuty, what are your thoughts on rostering and calendaring? Because it doesn't seem to have it now.
So we have very intentionally, up until this point, not put that in Hot Potato because we obviously have quite a specific way of doing our own. And we would want to make that quite a generic feature that anyone could use. So we have put some thought into it, and there are some plans around it, but we have not yet got a timeline to implement such things into Hot Potato.
Would you aim to have the mechanism by which whoever holds the potato goes on call, have that exposed via an API so a third system could actually update it, like Confluence or Jira?
That is something we would look at doing. We don't have a use for that directly at Catalyst other than when we have a mobile application. We've been very big on someone actually having to go and do it, but how they do that is obviously something that should be quite free. So it's definitely a thing we could add.
How easy is it to integrate stuff that's not in core? Do you provide support that, or is it, if you need support for it, you put it into the core, like plugins, I guess?
This is probably more of one for Callum, so I'm just going to...
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat that?
I guess, is there support for plugins, or does, if I want a different endpoint that you don't support,
Yeah,
monitoring
yeah.
or sending out?
So internally we use blueprints to separate everything out. So, or at least Flask has a feature called blueprints that allows you to like kind of segregate different endpoints and stuff into separate modules. And we've very specifically designed the APIs so that they're relatively self-contained and easy to extend like that. So, we haven't exactly got a specific interface for plugins, but that's definitely something we'd be keen on looking into. Yeah.
Anybody else? Going. Thank you very much, Catalyst IT, and thank you very much to our presenters. You all get the leg wrestle for this.